Everybody, I wish you are not too sleepy. I try to make it short, okay? Lifelong learning is one of the core competencies for nurses. The self-directed learning is one way to reach the goal of lifelong learning. Chen and colleagues in 2010 proposed SDL, self-directed learning, should include 4 elements, which is learning motivation, planning and implementation, self-monitoring, and interpersonal communication. Current literature shows that nursing students report low rating on their own lifelong learning, critical thinking, self-directed learning, and learning motivation. Anema and McCall 2010 discovered that nursing students not only were deficit in their ability to completing clinical tests, but also weak in the area of reading, writing, oral communication, problem solving, critical thinking, self-disciplinary, and working with group. Thus, previous findings reflect weakness on self-directed learning. So developing innovative teaching strategy and advocate for integration of 4 self-directed learning elements into a nursing curriculum or individual course can remediate this weakness. Flipping classroom learning may effectively stimulate learning motivation and provide training for communication skill, discernment, capability, problem-solving skill, and collaborative teamwork. Maybe you are thinking, what is flipping classroom? Usually when we do the teaching, we only talk. We use the lecture in the class. But sometimes students just learn and feel boring. Some of them are fall asleep. How can we make them wake up? So this is one of the ideas. And then, so some people propose, Pearson and colleagues, 2013, proposed the FLIP should stand for flexibility environment, learning culture, intentional content, and the professional educator. So I use the Pearson's idea and develop the blended flipped classroom teaching strategy. So the purpose of this study was to demonstrate the process for developing a BFCTS, which is blended flipped classroom teaching strategy, and pilot testing its effectiveness in promoting SDL and the students' satisfaction. So I use action research method to guide my study. And in here, it concludes 3 phases. The first one is course planning and development, and then implementation and evaluation. So in here, I choose 2 credit-hour pediatric nursing course, which RN to BSN student is going to take in this class. And in traditional, our class is designed for 5-week classroom and online instruction, and also 90 hours practicum. So I do a little bit change. So for my innovation of course design, in the first stage, I try to understand students' learning need and the learning preferences. And then I constructing the learning platform and developing the 4D CBL. I name 4D in purpose because people like to have 3D, 4D. And then so I think I try to name something that make people remember. So 4D stands for 4 phases dynamic case-based learning. And so when after that, I interview students, what do they like? What kinds of learning preference do they need? 15 RN to BS students were interviewed to understand their learning need. And the result revealed that I find out student has a difficulty in transferring knowledge into practice. And also this student has a limited clinical experience in pediatric nursing. Sometimes when we lack of the clinical experience, we need to image what does the clinical look like. But sometimes the way we image is not correct. So this pediatric course focuses on knowledge transformation to practice and communication with pediatric patients of different developmental stage and their family. And then in the class, I use a traditional classroom teaching with a technological assisted like Line. It's kind of like a messenger. It's a communication application and the role play, online lecture, and full-phase dynamic case-based learning. And then I put all the course material like a course handout and audio-visual recording, course instruction, syllabus, and other related information into the learning platform. And then also use a PowerCam software to record my teaching. Okay, so each recording was kept between 12 to 15 minutes to maximize the effectiveness. Students are required to review this module online prior to scenario discussion in class. And so after that, it goes to the 4D CBL. So at the beginning, I construct a brief case for discussion and then revise the case based on the synthesis of faculty and the students' question. And then I revise a new case discussion in the group and ask students to present the case, okay? So the example for the brief case for discussion, such as John Wang is 1 year old child who has been diagnosed with a tetralogue of failure. And then one was admitted for a cardiac catheter procedure in preparation for his coming cardiac surgery. So my question is very short. When students see this brief case, they are asked to raise 2 questions at least in a group. Okay, and then this step serves dual purpose. The first one is to clarify students' question and concern related to the scenario and to incorporate students' generated question into reconstruction of the scenario. Okay, so after that, I synthesize students' question and revise the case for discussion. And then here is the case. The case looks more complex. So I provide more information in here, and the question look like this one. So prior to admission, I asked the student, what are the clinical manifestations that you expect from the report by outpatient nurse during handoff? Why does the patient show these clinical manifestations? What is the pathophysiological mechanism? And then the second one is, what else do you need to assess based on the patient's current condition? So I have a series of questions to ask the student to answer. They are group, 7 students are in a group. They are required to discuss using any kind of equipment or internet to answer the question. And for the implementation, the course was implemented in the spring 2015. In classes, students were required to search relevant information in preparation for the discussion. Electronic device such as mobile phone, iPad, or laptop. Usually, we are not allowed students to use a mobile phone or iPad or laptop in the class because we think they are not going to pay attention to study. But at this moment, I make a big change. I encourage them to use anything to get the answer and provide me the evidence-based knowledge or provide me the evidence-based information. Okay, and after the classroom discussion, the course faculty randomly selected students to present the group discussion result. Here is the class look like. So they are in a group. Everybody look at their mobile phone and then searching for the information. I go to each group and discuss with them about the question they try to answer to make sure they go to the right way. And also I pay more attention on which page they are looking for. I don't want them to go to that is not scientific journal. they are required to provide the scientific evidence. Okay, and after that, they are going to present what do they discuss, present the result to me, and other students are going to ask the question. So for the evaluation, I use the course survey and the in-depth interview to evaluate students' satisfaction and the effectiveness of the BFCTS. Okay, a total of 46 students took the pediatric course, and 43 students, which is 93.5%, complete the survey. All students are female, age range is around 21 to 23, and has no prior clinical working experience. After completing the course, 88% of students say this teaching strategy can stimulate their interest in pediatric nursing. Also, they all report branded flipped classroom teaching strategy can improve their clinical reasoning and problem-solving ability as well as SDL. All students say, 84 students report this strategy can increase their learning motivation and planning and implementation, self-monitoring, interpersonal communication ability. And the average score of teaching satisfaction in pediatric course is around 4.60, which is using 5-point like a scale. And students indicate high satisfaction on the design of teaching and the curriculum, and report that the professor and the teaching modality stimulate motivation for learning. I also interview, after the class, I also interview 11 students to understand whether they like my new innovation teaching strategy. And it revealed 4 themes. The first one is decreasing discrepancies between theory and practice. One student said, I think this teaching strategy is more clinical. We learn theory and knowledge from reading the textbook. We did okay on the exam, but it is hard to imagine what question moms will ask. What does each individual child differ? Or what question children will ask in clinical? This is the part that I'm lacking. Also, textbooks give us the major principle to communicate with children. We don't have problem understanding this principle. However, we have no idea how to answer questions from a clinical scenario. In my past experience in clinical, when I did not know how to answer patients' question, I always say that I would check on it and let them know later. Although it did not seem appropriate, I did not know what else to do. Though through the clinical scenario, I'm able to see things from various perspectives. I am better aware of patients' viewpoint and provide appropriate answer. For the second theme, promoting development ability for SDL, the students say, I think this class also taught us how to learn. I can use this learning skill when I work in a hospital in the future. In this class, I discovered lots of things that are not in the textbook. We had to solve the problems on our own and search for information. When we found the information on our own, we learned it. In the past, my instructor lectured. We were not sure how much we understood and retained. Now I know to find problems on my own, search for supporting evidence and the information, then to find the information that I need. For the third things, effectiveness of 4D CBL in increasing the depth and the breadth of the learning. One student say, I think learning finally become interesting. I could go beyond the boring class contents. The clinical situation are too alive. The instructor's case scenario were very short at the beginning. We had to dig deeper into this disease in order to ask questions. I think this strategy allows us to take initiative in reading a variety of the book, we were able to have a deeper understanding about the disease and the nursing care. Questions that the professor asked stimulate our thinking and force us to consider issues arise in various situations. I think we got to think deeper and further, which is lacking in the traditional classrooms. The last thing is a group discussion facilitate growth in collaborative ability. I have been to many small group discussions in the past. Usually we come from different cohorts and had different schedules. Whenever we find the time to get together, we typically divide up works and took charge of the test that we are responsible for. However, in this class, there was time limitation for discussion of the case scenario. We all had to focus on the discussion when questions arise. We may ask the instructor immediately. The questions was resolved and we gained a deeper understanding on the context. Okay, so for the conclusion, this paper demonstrates the process of developing the branded flipped classroom in the pediatric nursing course. Four-phase dynamic case-based learning was the key element in success learning. Students are satisfied with this innovation teaching strategy. They believe the BFCTS can improve their self-directed learning and problem-solving ability. Although some students prefer just listen to what teacher taught in the class and report overloading in the learning, they also think it is worth to learn knowledge from this teaching strategy. And this study still continues. This is only pilot study. At the end, I would like to acknowledge National Science Council for providing findings for my study and my student from National Taipei University. And thank you. Here is my email.
Thank you very much. Any questions? No questions?
Okay, thanks.